already.
You think my life is perfect?
You couldn't last one day in my high school.
Walt Disney Pictures presents.
So you're in my body and I'm in your body. I'm old!
Okay, here we are. We are on location in the beautiful, breezy Baghdad, no, not Ukraine.
Baghdad, Ukraine. It's the first time you got it right. I can't believe it.
I haven't even taken a drink of the whiskey yet. Yeah, so we are on location. We are doing a very special episode this time. This time is one, it's kind of a different genre one that we haven't done. We haven't done this kind of genre one before, right?
No.
It's a very popular movie. It has a long pedigree in the annals of
horror.
Like teen culture and horror. Yeah, it has its roots all the way back in like the 1940s when the horror movies first were invented.
Yep, definitely not 1920 with like Haxan or whatever, 29.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad you pointed that out. So yeah, this one is very important for the genre. And this one in particular, it's called Freaky Friday. Friday. Yeah, scary stuff. It's one that, I mean, it's been made into video games. It's been done a million different ways. It has a million different like sequels and prequels and all that stuff.
Had a very short horror film that was Lil Dicky and Chris Brown. That was terrifying as well.
Yeah, Little Dicky and Chris Brown, where Chris Brown was beating up Rihanna, and but the horror was that Little Dicky,
like it wasn't actually Rihanna, it was his Lil Dicky,
right?
And he made himself sterile, and now he can't have sex anymore.
So yeah, that was the point. But that's also why he survived, because now he's sexually pure. Yeah. Of course, that's one of the big tropes that you see in a lot of these horror movies, is that the virgin, is the archetype that will survive throughout these horror movies. But in this particular Freaky Friday, what's it called when they have a bunch of movies in the same thing?
Series.
It's not a franchise, but it's a gaggle. Yeah. So in this particular gaggle of horror movies, we have Jamie Lee Curtis, the Scream Queen.
Yep. And we have Jamie Hyneman from Mythbusters.
Yeah, Jamie Hyneman from Mythbusters.
With his walrus mustache.
So Jamie Hyneman and Jamie Lee Curtis, and then there's Jamie Foxx, Jamie from You Got X'd Punk,
Jamie
Kennedy, and there's also
Jamie Presley from My Name Is Earl.
Jamie Presley, who is obviously the daughter of Elvis Presley. So this one, that was kind of weird, because Freaky Friday, of course, is the one that set it all off. And because it had Jamie Presley in there, they wanted to make sure to use her talents, her God-given talents, juggling. So there are a number of musical juggling numbers in this movie, which you think would dissipate the tension.
Yeah.
When they're being chased by a killer.
Kennedy.
Kennedy.
We could spoil it. It's been long enough.
Yeah. So when they're being chased by Jamie Kennedy, who's got a giant X.
He's trying to prank them the whole time. Yeah. And they're scared of him. They end up accidentally killing themselves running from him.
Well,
because
okay.
The pranks are so realistic.
In Jamie Presley's, it's kind of her fault because she was juggling the whole time. So it's like, that's not a good thing to do while you're running from a murderer. But yeah, so Jamie Kennedy, obviously, spoilers, he was the killer the whole time. But Jamie Lee Curtis and Jamie Hyneman, what is this?
Hyneman?
Jamie Hyneman.
We can just call him Hyneman for short.
Hyneman. So Hyneman and Jamie Lee Curtis, obviously, they have a pretty significant love interest, throughout the thing.
And if you couldn't tell, with that whole purity theme, Jamie Hyneman is the only one that survives.
Exactly. And he offered, the reason Jamie Lee Curtis lasted so long is because he offered mustache rides. And that's why she could rise above the relatively short Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah, technically a virgin the whole time.
Yeah.
She gets a mustache ride, so they're person on person.
Yeah.
So they're 7 times the height of Jamie Kennedy, who's actually in real life, he's only 4'6".
4'6", yeah. That was verified. So, like we said, this is kind of the standard trope when it comes to horror movies. But this one in particular, Freaky Friday, it offered kind of a new twist on the genre. Mm-hmm. Even though it started the genre. So, in this one, you have actually the killer and the person he's chasing, they flip through magic, they flip identities.
Yeah.
So there's an electrical field that was shot by Elon Musk, and he has a cameo in this.
Yeah, of course.
Just like Iron Man. So it's shot down, it flips their personalities into each other. And so now it's Jamie Lee Curtis who's trying to do the killing, and Jamie Kennedy who's the buxom scream queen.
Yeah, that was like one of the most satisfying scenes is Jamie Lee Curtis yelling, "How do you like it?" And Jamie Kennedy says, "I don't, I'm sorry." But they just keep going.
I feel like... it wasn't the most elaborate dialogue that they could have used for that kind of a momentous situation, because they finally find out that, oh, you're the killer now, so, and I'm not the killer, so I could just stop, but they don't do it. It seems like they should have drawn that out and made it more emotional or thematic or something like that, but... Yeah.
Well, and then one of the other unique features about this movie that might clear some things up for people that are a little bit confused right now. This was the first of its kind where it was also a choose your own adventure. So if you watch this at home, you may have had a different viewing experience than we did, because you may have chosen different things that would have led you to different endings.
Right.
And you could do that right in the middle of watching this movie by thinking it.
Yeah, so they developed this technology at a certain point. So if you just thought a certain way, then it would change what happens in the movie. Yep. That's why it's kind of difficult to review it, because when we thought about it, the things that happened for us are going to be different than what happened to everybody else. So like when I watched it, I thought about Weasel. So Weasel popped out,
of course,
and we were watching it at the same time. So there was a bit of a conflict when I thought about Weasel, and then you thought about
Carmen Electra.
Yeah. So when Weasel started licking Carmen Electra, that's not something that you expected to happen in a horror movie like this. You know?
Well, what I really didn't expect was Carmen Electra to lick Weasel back.
Well, yeah, that wasn't because she has a long history of licking kind of strange looking things. She was in Bedazzled, and she was in that
Lake Placid as the monster.
She did a porn parody in the Scary Movies. Remember, she was in the Scary Movies. Yep. Yeah. So she was in that. She was looking all sorts of stuff.
Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah. So there was a history in Shawshank Redemption. There was a history of her licking a lot of stuff. So
she licked the pipes clean before Andy Dufresne escaped.
Yeah, so all of that kind of presaged her position in this, where she was licking Weasel. But like we said,
that sounds like a euphemism. She's licking Weasel.
She's licking Weasel. But
save that one for later.
So for long term, it was weird because everything that we thought would end up in the movie as a choose your own adventure. So it was creative. We'll give it that. Yeah. So, obviously, by the end, we have Jamie Lee Curtis, who is now the killer, and we have Jamie Kennedy, who is being chased by Jamie Lee Curtis, and we have Hyman, who is, he's got the mustache going, and he's trying to figure out how do you defeat this villain, because he's got to kill the killer without killing the person, the killer's in. Yeah. So it's this whole conundrum that you have to figure out now.
Yeah, so he's testing all these theories.
Yeah, testing
them
all.
He's busting these myths about how to get rid of these killer bodies without the killer, or the other way around.
Yeah, and so what happens is that when he's trying to figure this stuff out, he comes upon a solution to get rid of the killer body, but it just makes the final solution, but it just makes Carmen Electra fat because her killer body's gone now. So it's just he mixed it up, and that's a problem. So they have to figure out, what do we do now?
It was like Nutty Professor, backwards.
Yeah, backwards Nutty Professor. That's right. So I mean, what do you do from here? We think that this is obviously the lowest point for the hero because they thought they had a solution, and now Carmen Electra's not hot. So what do you do? What do you do from that point?
You have to
introduce
something new.
Right.
And that's where Ashton Kutcher comes in.
Ashton Kutcher, exactly.
And
from Butterfly Effect.
Yeah, from Butterfly Effect. Yeah. He's now chasing Jamie Lee Curtis.
Okay.
Yeah, he's now chasing Amy Lee Curtis.
Amy Lee Curtis, was the daughter of Jamie Lee Curtis.
Which triggers Elon Musk's switching ray, which now the punk gets X'd. Nobody's going to miss him. So Jamie Hyneman can just strangle him with his mustache. We think.
Did we think that?
That was the plan.
Okay.
And it didn't quite happen that way, right?
Right, yeah, because at that point, obviously, because you have Elon Musk involved, you have Amy Lee Curtis, you have Jamie Lee Curtis, you have Fat Carmen Electra, and you have Weasel, who's just licking windows. He's not doing anything else. But so you have
winning.
He's definitely winning. But you have all these different factors that are bumping into each other now. And Ashton Kutcher, he turns into a baby and chokes himself in the womb, but just for sexual gratification. It wasn't actually to stop anything from happening. But
he doesn't kill himself, but he finishes.
No, he finishes that story.
His mom's pregnant again. That's
a super extra double twist ending. Is that Ashton Kutcher, while doing erotic asphyxiation in his mother's womb, impregnates her again. And then his sister, Ashton Kutcher, is the one who comes out and in the future, 20 years later, saves everybody.
Yep. That I don't see any problems with any of this whatsoever.
I think that's a pretty straightforward story.
David Carradine would be so happy with that.
So that's what happens. Ashton Kutcher is the savior and kills Jamie Lee Curtis, and it's a sacrifice, because they couldn't separate the killer from the killer person or whatever, from the innocent person. So Jamie Lee Curtis is dead. Ashton Kutcher is
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Satisfied.
Oh, yes. He's smoking a cigarette in the womb now.
Right. And we have, obviously Hyman, he survives because, he was pure all the way throughout. Yeah. And then that's the end of the movie, I thought it was pretty well put together.
I thought it was an odd horror movie, but it was the first one, so I think that actually makes all other horror movies odd horror movies, and this is the only right one. That's
correct, yeah. So that was Freaky Friday, and I'm going to give it incest porn out of...
It's very popular right now.
Out of, like, the fake incest porn. So, like, the incest porn that's, like, stepchild.
Yeah, stuck in the washer.
Right. So, what do you give it?
I'm going to give it a barbecue tofu.
Barbecue tofu. Okay, that's interesting. It's not a great score, but...
Some people like it.
I haven't met him. Yeah, so that was the entire Friday the 13th franchise, Freaky Friday the 13th.
Yeah, Freaky Friday the 13th.
Freaky Friday the 13th. Yeah, for Halloween. So that was the entire one of those. So after that, obviously we watched ones that are kind of more inspired in general, not directly. Mm-hmm. We were watching tons and tons of horror movies. So the second collection that we watched, or gaggle that we watched.
Well, that was still part of the same series, but a spinoff was Friday.
Friday, yeah. So that was what I was going to say. It was Friday.
Now, your mama told me what happened to you yesterday. How the hell you gonna get fired on your day off?
Damn! Look, she bending over.
If you ain't got my money, I'm killing you and him.
Damn!
Friday and next Friday and the third Friday and Friday after next and Friday before the third Friday of next Friday. Yeah, so that's the one with Ice Cube. The Day of Fries. That's the one with Ice Cube and Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan and
big black dude.
Yeah, the big black dude with Tom Hanks.
Yep.
So it's all of them, and obviously it's a horror movie, but it's within the gangster high comedy, kind of genre that we saw through the 90s. It was very influential,
Yeah.
I forget who the director was, but it was like a legit director.
Cindy Peppercorn.
and like this is the height of Ice Cube's powers. This is when Eddie Murphy was still alive. This is with Jackie Chan. and so you have all of them playing off of each other. Yep. There's a lot of great comedy in this, but there's also the terror of... That's getting cut. That's cut. That's very cut.
I was going to say the horror of...
So you have the terror of...
Nope. Terror of...
That's all that's cut. We're the terror of... Being in a lower socioeconomic area without the kind of support from the systemic, institutions that you need support from. So you don't have the police, You don't have, regular housing. You don't have those kinds
You're
of things that are
describing
necessary.
Candyman.
Oh, did I mix it up with Candyman?
Yeah, because all of them are.
How am I going to cut all this out? That's not going to work at all. We have okay. Start me on Friday and next Friday. Give me the plot here.
Driving Miss Daisy, or she's. I'm really liking this.
No, oh my god!
All right, fine.
I didn't even take it in that direction for that long. I was just gonna make a comment. I know what you're gonna do. So just
no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna tell you what Friday's about.
Okay, what's Friday about?
I just want it to be like a 4-minute long bleep. So Friday is about this family that hears this rumor that if you can go into the bathroom after your uncle's done taking a massive dookie, and when he sprays his little air freshener, if you can survive in that room and stare in the mirror and say leprechaun 3 times in a row,
Tom Cruise will walk out.
yeah, Tom Cruise will come out and he'll get you.
Yeah.
No, it was Nicolas Cage because the bees.
Wait, the bees? No, but that's
Not the bees.
But so there are a couple of things you could say.
Yeah.
If you said something about a leprechaun, it would be Tom Cruise. If you said something about bees, then it would be
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So you can choose your own monster. It's very similar to Freaky Friday. That's how it inspired this. This choose your. It's like audience clap if you want to hear this.
Well, that's why every DVD that shipped came with a microphone that you had to attach to your television so that they could hear you say which one you wanted.
It was actually just a vibrator.
It was.
It would just read your mind, just like the old movies. They just want to see if they could get people to hold a vibrator up to their mouth and scream at it.
That's true. So yeah, it's a very courageous thing to do when it comes to filmmaking because you are choosing your own monster. Of course, it's not as intrepid or crazy as Freaky Friday, because Freaky Friday just read your mind and put whatever in there.
Yeah.
So this one just gave you 2 choices. So you could either have the leprechaun or the bees. Now, when I watched it, I chose the leprechaun. So
how did that go with the leprechaun?
So with the leprechaun, it was good. You know, he popped out. Tom Cruise did, and when he had a kind of a good relationship with Ice Cube, but he had a more kind of difficult relationship when it came to Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan, because he killed them both.
Yeah.
So
was that where that one quote came from? Because I haven't watched the Tom Cruise version of it, but that one part when, because obviously Ice Cube's scared of rent, and then Tom Cruise says, "Show me the money." So that was like the real scary moment.
That's what you would think. But so the thing was that you find out actually at the beginning of the 3rd act, and this was crazy. I didn't see it coming. But you find out that Ice Cube is an actual ice cube. So because it was really hot out, he had melted by this point. So he wasn't afraid of the rent by then because he was melted.
Is the leprechaun scared of water?
The leprechaun is scared of water, yeah.
Okay,
actually,
all
yeah.
leprechauns are. That's why
as we know, right. So, yeah, he's scared of water. If they step in it, obviously, as we know, then they will melt. So, yeah, he had to evade that. And that was part of his motivation for killing Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan.
I feel like probably more Chris Tucker. I feel like Jackie Chan was more for pleasure.
We all know how much Tom Cruise hates Asians, yes. So that one might have been for pleasure.
No, he hates other people to do their own stunts.
Okay. See, I was spreading fake news because you're absolutely right. He was trying to kill the competition. That's right. And he was also trying to kill Chris Tucker because he thought he was funnier than him.
Of course.
Okay, so that was...
Chris Tucker can jump on a mean couch.
He's a good couch jumper. So that was the Tom Cruise version. So what happened in the Nicolas Cage version?
So he comes in, and while they're still in the bathroom, and he starts just shouting out just different random crazy noises that you can only replicate from goats in general. So obviously they run off. They're scared. They're running away. Nicolas Cage, he's sort of... I'm losing myself. I wish I had 2 penises, tartar sauce. He hops in his Volvo, the beige one.
Beige Volvo, yeah.
To chase them down.
In a bear costume.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
In a bear costume.
But, okay, so he had a motivation, though, in this one. It wasn't like Tom Cruise, who was just doing it for things that were outside the movie. In Nicolas Cage's version, is because they stole his truffle-sniffing pig, right?
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so, and like, part of the reason why is that truffle-sniffing pig that he kept was to keep the bees away.
Right.
That was
yeah.
like
everybody knows. Yeah, of
so
course.
Bees are chasing him because they've got the pig. He's behind them, and he knows the bees aren't far behind. And like even at one point in the movie, Nicolas Cage gets pulled over. And he jumps out of the car. He's like, "Not the bees!" Ah! And he's like, so the cop just lets him go to go try and get his pig back.
Yeah, because the cop felt a special affinity for the pig. Yeah, because he's a cop.
He's also
he's also a pig.
Bacon recognized bacon.
Right. That's what he said. That's the phrase that he used. Bacon recognized bacon.
Yep. Yeah. So he trades in his beige Volvo after he loses them in this chase, obviously because he got pulled over, and he gets onto an airplane to then chase them with. Who is full of convicts.
So, this is while the bees were still chasing him?
Yeah.
He trades in the Volvo for an airplane? Just straight across? Or did he have to put some cash down? Or
No,
okay.
It was straight across because the airplane was full of convicts.
Oh, right. So, it would be at a discount.
Yeah, so he ended up getting a deal on this airplane, and he figured, like, bees can fly. If I can fly, I can level the playing field at least if they catch up to me.
That makes so much sense. Yeah.
So, and that's where we meet all of these other horror characters. We've got our Steve Buscemi. We've got Diamond Dallas Page.
Right, Diamond Dallas Page. Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah. Vince Staples.
Vince Staples. Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
Who were all in prison for... tax evasion.
Right.
So that's how they're on the plane.
That was one of the weird scenes, is that when he was going around asking each one what they did, and they all said tax evasion, it was less menacing than it could have been.
But they evaded like a lot of taxes. So
it was a lot.
It was kind of scary. So Nicolas Cage eventually catches up to him. They go to give him his pig back, but he realizes that they didn't even have it the whole time, and he just locked it in the bathroom. And it was kind of scared, and it hit in the toilet when he was making goat noises.
And it drowned in the toilet.
Yeah, so then the bees catch up to him, but the other people don't want to get like hurt by the bees, so they just like stick him to a board, and then the bees eat him to death. And then you're like, why the hell did this whole movie exist? Why did they do any setup whatsoever if they're just going to have bees eat him and then have that be the end of it?
Yeah, but we're missing the after credit scene. Obviously, at the after credit scene,
is that when Weasel gets up?
That's when Weasel and Florence Pugh are sitting there with flowers around their face and watching him being eaten alive by the bees. So you can see it in her face, though. So you look in her face, and you see that she is coming to terms with the fact that she got out of a toxic relationship. This is the this is the entire arc. She realizes finally that dating Nicolas Cage when he's forgetting where he put pigs and taking planes that are full of convicts. She's seeing now that that's a really toxic thing to be a part of. And Weasel is just eating his own head. He didn't learn anything. But
he didn't need to.
No, he's perfect. He's Weasel.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think overall, I thought the arc in the Nicolas Cage one was much more interesting than the Tom
There was
Cruise
more
one.
action-packed, that's for sure.
There's more going on, yeah. But yeah, so that was... Oh, damn it. We need to boost this. Okay, so that was Friday. We did Freaky Friday, Friday the 13th, Friday after next, the Friday before the next Friday, or the first Friday, the 3rd.
And the Day of Fries.
And the Day of Fries. So we did those. There are other Friday-related horror movies, franchises.
Little known fact, there was a cameo from Captain Fry from The Rock in that movie because it was the Fry franchise.
True. So the other horror movie that I'm thinking of that's for Friday,
Pretty Woman,
was Pretty Woman. Yes.
That horror.
I would pretend I was a princess trapped in the tower, and then this knight on a white horse would come charging up and rescue me. Well, color me happy. There's a sofa in here for two.
Get rid of your gum.
All right.
I don't believe you did that.
That's what. So they gave, this director, they said, we want you to make another horror movie. And he said, great. and he made Pretty Woman, which of course stars Julia Roberts and
Steven Tyler.
And Steven Tyler
plays Julia Roberts. And then Busta Rhymes, who plays Steven Tyler, playing Julia Roberts.
Right. So which one's the guy paying for the sex? And which one's the prostitute? Because I'm a little confused.
Martin Short. It pays for sex from all three of them, but all three of them are still Julia Roberts.
Okay. So they all three. So every scene it has all three of them playing the same character, and they all have to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And Martin Short, who's he's like 80 or something in the movie. And he's the one who's taking her around and buying her all these nice things. And because it's a horror movie, in every place in public he bangs her with full penetration. Yeah. And it shows it. It shows it all.
Aggressively,
yeah.
Speaking of the director, obviously Lars von Trier directed all of these.
Oh yeah, that makes so much sense. Yeah, and that's why they casted Willem Dafoe too as one of her outfits.
So she wore him, and
he just drapes over her in some of the scenes. He has to drape over her, and they go out to a ball
like a fox scarf.
Yeah. So I thought Willem Dafoe's performance was amazing.
Yeah, he made a great scarf. He was
incredible.
Floppy. He looked soft.
Well, speaking of soft, since he's like 80 years old, all the sex scenes were just completely flaccid. He just slapped into her and never penetrated or anything like that.
Well, that's why they always finished with a mouth job.
Yeah, the mouth job, that whore. That's what they did, yeah. So, again, this is within the horror genre, so it fits, and it's about Fridays, because it was on Friday, where... What happened on Friday?
The mouth jobs?
It's Mouth Job Fridays. That's what they had.
That was the special.
That was the special.
Local burger joint.
That's right. So you show up and you ask for the special and you get a mouth job. Yeah, that's right. So I thought, it doesn't really fit in the same way, obviously. Even though Willem Dafoe cuts her neck off at the end of the movie.
That seems fair.
It still didn't seem like it really fit within the genre because it didn't have all the same tropes, that we usually see in horror movies.
There's no choose your own adventure at all.
Choose your own adventure, no weasel, no. There were a lot of things. Nicolas Cage wasn't there. There were no planes of convicts. There were no leprechauns jumping out of stink-filled bathrooms. I mean, none of that stuff was there, and that's what you expect.
I'm wondering why it was even part of the whole series.
I don't know. It's almost like somebody just added into it for a stupid pun reason. Yeah. So that's Pretty Woman. What happened at the end of that movie?
They just all opened their mouths, and the entire audience got sucked in.
So yeah,
Steven Tyler, Julia Roberts, Busta Rhymes all open their mouths, and there's nothing that can survive that.
Right? Yeah, that's insanity.
That expanded the universe all at once.
It just they went around the whole place. They're still going, sucking everybody up, and
off. It's a horror movie. They're sucking everybody off,
and that's what made it. That's what made it a great movie, ultimately.
Yeah.
Because it meant something, too.
There was a great message to it.
There was definitely a message. Holy, we're not there yet. Oh, no. So, but Pretty Woman, I'm going to give it that one movie Closer. I'm going to give it the movie Closer out of the movie Farther.
Is there a movie called Farther?
I don't think so. So what do you give it?
We'll make one. I'm going to give it a couple incisors.
Couple incisors. Okay, so the last movie that we watched for this is called the movie Farther.
All of planetary exploration, to me, is a story about longing.
There's never going to be another mission like it. It was the first and last of its own kind.
And we have liftoff.
Where do we come from? Are we alone? What's the universe made of? How will it end?
This is the sequel to Closer. And so Closer was about the difficulty of maintaining intimacy within, adult relationships. Farther was about a serial killer who used a steak knife to chop his own butthole off. So that's how he killed people, because they were so put off by this.
Well, and see, that's where I think a lot of people debate this all the time. Is the
hotly debated
actually called Farther, or is it called Fart Her?
That's so true. That makes so much sense. Yeah. So that's the whole point.
Clive Owen, after cutting off his butthole, kept trying to put Natalie Portman in there as the killer, and I think he was trying to fart her.
Right. So this was obviously, this one was where we have who's the lead of Silence of the Lambs. We've got Clarice, yeah, the actress Clarice. So the actress Clarice is playing Jodie Foster, and Jodie Foster is trying to stop Clive Owen from putting more people in his butthole. But that's he had to get more space, so that's why he had to cut it open.
I don't know why when Jodie Foster came up, I immediately thought Forrest Whitaker. I don't know how that name association got there. But
no idea.
I was like, holy shit.
I have no idea where that came from. But yeah, so you have Clarice playing Jodie Foster, and she's trying to stop Clive Owen. And it's got this very kind of psychological thing going on. Because Clarice, or Jodie Foster, whoever, Jodie Foster, the character,
Forrest Whitaker,
has to go and talk to somebody who's in prison, who is a complete mastermind of this whole killer stuff. So she has to show up, and she's terrified of this whole situation.
When she goes to see John from John and Kate + 8.
She goes to see John from John and Kate + 8.
Who's in jail for
murdering
kitty porn.
7 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, when she has to go see John, then she has to learn from him how to identify a Clive Owen who's cutting his butthole off to fit people in it.
Yeah.
And they go through this whole thing. There's this bit of a relationship that develops between Jodie Foster and John. But then, because he didn't kill Kate, Kate shows back up, and turns out she was the serial killer the whole time.
Kate Beckinsale.
Kate Beckinsale. Yeah. So she was the serial killer the whole time because she's a vampire, and she's been eating everybody.
Well, and you find out her motivations because you find out when she was a little girl, she was farted. And that's where farter came from.
That's right, because no other people in their youth do that. So
no, she was farted.
Oh, she was farted.
Yeah,
I thought she was farting.
No, she was
farted. Oh, okay, so that's her origin story.
Yep.
It all makes sense now. You know, I hadn't circled that square, so now I understand why it was Kate Beckinsale who was the one who was actually the killer. Mm. So obviously, at the end, she kills Clive Owen and drinks his blood, and then Jodie Foster. She took obviously she drives the car into the water, which explodes. And then the fish that comes out of the water... Explodes? Yeah, the water explodes. And then the fish that comes out of the water lands on the bridge. And it just so happens to be that Kate Beckinsale is not driving, she's riding a bike, and the fish is right there.
Mm-hmm. Bicycle.
The bicycle. And then Weasel eats the fish. And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic movie. I love the symbolism in the ending.
A lot of symbolism, yeah.
There was a little known trivia fact that I found out about this movie.
Oh, what's that?
Clive Owen was actually named after Clive Barker, who was mistakenly called Clive Barker after Bram Stoker, who made Dracula, who sucks like all these movies.
Right. So... That's a great trivia. That really helps. So that means that we made it.
Nice.
So yeah, we went over a lot of really important movies. We did Freaky Friday. We did Friday After Next.
You have to rate Fart Her.
Oh, Fart Her. Yeah. I think it has such psychological depth.
Psycholobstacle.
Psycholobstacle that I'm gonna give it a lobster out of a fish that was eaten by a weasel.
Oh, that's actually not that bad.
That's not bad. Yeah.
I'm gonna get it some Gas X.
Gas X. That'll probably be helpful. So that's the end of this episode. That was Friday, Freaky Friday. Do you want to say bye?
Bye.
Jesus Christ! That's the scariest thing that's happened all October. All right, so we're gonna end it there.
That was ridiculous.
What is this? Freaky Friday.